Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thanks for stopping by. Our dedicated team will guide you through with the latest updates and theories at Starbase, Texas. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for future streams.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Starbase Weekly, episode 96. Astro Joe here. We got a great show for you. Aerial photos taken yesterday. I'll pass it along to our special guest, DJ.
Hey people, how are you doing? Another week, more photos, more things, very interesting things. And I'll pass it to Nate.
Hey everybody, I hope you all are great. It's a great day to look at Starbase. It's been a couple weeks since I've been a part, and so it's going to be really neat to look at the changes with everybody. The only way it could be better is if we were part of the nerdles that are down there for Crowfest 4. And so looking forward to today. I'll pass it to Stephanie.
G'day from Australia, I'm Stephanie. Welcome everybody to another Starbase Weekly live stream. Please remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons and consider becoming a YouTube patron or Patreon member. So a fair bit has changed since our last flyover, which was way back on the 16th because we missed the flyover due to aircraft maintenance. And on top of that, when Inema went to capture ground images, wouldn't you know it, the road was closed for testing at the launch site, resulting in a limited amount of ground shots as well. But putting those things behind us now, we can move on this week with a fresh set of aerial pictures for you all. I'd like to thank our new photographer Inema for these wonderful images. And let's start over at Macy's. I guess you call it Macy's.
Massey's, that's right.
So let's start over the tank farm this week because it's where the most interesting things have happened. We've got some new concrete being put in here to help with the truck deliveries, and of course a new pedestal for more tanks. What do you think of that, Nate?
Yeah, we got a new pedestal. It's interesting. I don't think they're going to be quite as large as the tanks that are there, but it's definitely an indication that more tank storage is coming very soon.
And another interesting thing with the tank farm is we have some hippos, so sub-chillers, and we're guessing they'll be chilling the locks for when they do testing on boosters and ships, which should give a much more accurate test results because the lower temperature locks on the steel and the valves will be more like actual flight conditions, which will be interesting to see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm interested to see how these are installed because in my mind, they need to be installed like they are at the orbital tank farm. And so I'm like, where are our holes for our pumps and everything like that? So I'm definitely interested to see these be installed and get put to use.
We can see 2 already mounted and 2 still on the ground. So it looks like this is their final spot. And yeah, you're right, there's got to be a heap of infrastructure put in for the LOX input, the LOX output, the nitrogen input, and like I said, some pumps.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, they're not going to need to flow. I wouldn't say the amount. They need to be able to fill a booster, but they won't need to flow it necessarily as quickly, possibly. So I'm sure the infrastructure there will be different than the tank farm down at the orbital launch site. But nonetheless, more stuff to come.
They may get away with the current pumps, but it's interesting you say about pumps. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, very true.
Moving on to the burst pad, it seems they've finished testing this article because they've opened the berm up and disconnected the pipes We didn't see it burst, so hopefully that means it's passed.
Yep, that would be EDOM 2 or Test Tank 14, and yeah, they've got it open there, unless they're about to do some work. I mean, they've got an excavator down up above in the image doing some work, and so maybe that's why they've gone in there. And it's always interesting to see stuff sit in this area, because it can sit in this area sometimes for weeks or months, and then all of a sudden it's either gone or we catch it burst. So it'll be interesting to watch this pan out.
This whole top area, we've noticed, has been worked on over the last few weeks. We can see it's been levelled out quite a lot more. This berm was further over last week. Last week, Flyover thought they were building this little bank area up, but it seems they've actually levelled it all out. And this whole area seems to be becoming something new. We can see concrete being demolished in this area, and we can see a bit of trenching. You might recall trenching in an earlier flyover was over on this side of this area, and now it's continuing through here.
Massey seems to be our most ever-changing location at the moment. It is evolving pretty rapidly each week.
This is quite a substantial area here. It's obviously something planned for this whole area as one area for something. We can see concrete debris here. And all of the rest of the things were sitting on the ground here have all been moved. Got some water deliveries over here.
You've got the water treatment plant there, so they'll come grab water there from time to time. And
between that and I'm guessing I think they've moved some tanks. I guess they removed some waste product as well from time to time from this plant. So yeah, the big news would be those hippos and the new stand, the new tank stand. Not a lot has changed in here. We saw the Ship 27 get lifted out of the jail, and it's still attached to the crane, suggesting to me that they're waiting for a transport to come and lift it onto. The hot stage test article was rolled back to the ring yard. I did have a date written down for that, but I can't remember now. That was on the 18th, so that moved back to the production site.
of course, 24.2 is still sitting there waiting for its test. I really, when it rolled out here, we expected it to be a priority, being it's a payload bay test article, and it still has not, which I guess the first ship to really need this test article verified will be ship 28. So they still have quite a bit of time before it has to be verified. But nonetheless, I think of all the stuff that's here right now, this is the piece that I'd love to see finally get tested. I'm anxious to see how that all holds together with all the apparent issues they had with that payload bay on 24 and 25. Anxious to see this test take place.
Yeah, I guess the priority right now is the new shielding, which Ship 25 has as well, as far as I know, to be tested. Oh, human for scale. So this being tested obviously took priority over the payload bay for Ship 25's flight. So hopefully that's all passed the testing, and Ship 25 still appears to be ready to fly.
Yeah. When they do these last-minute tests of things that are on current vehicles and they're verifying something that's, needed now, it's always kind of a moment of just holding your breath going, okay, I hope this passed and this works.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a team of engineers as well sweating on those tests passing. So Booster 11 here has had some cryo testing. We've seen it LOX tank filled with LOX, and we've seen the methane tank filled with nitrogen, and it should be almost ready to roll back per engine install.
And then coincidentally, there's an engine install stand probably in a day or two. We'll be waiting on it.
Yes, we'll get to that when we get to that. But yeah, that's exciting news. Okay, moving on to this building, we can see a mezzanine level has been put in. And I'll just see if this image is the best one. We can see a bridge crane runway in here. And this is an open span. And we can see a bridge crane runway being installed here with the rest of the runway here with its dead stop. We can see a dead stop here, and we can see a dead stop just in there.
And this is an interesting building in that you can see where I guess the two roller doors will be on the kind of the bottom two corners. They haven't put anyway. This is an interesting building because it's got the bridge crane access, and yet it doesn't have any necessarily large doors for ingress. So I'm curious to see this building finished out.
I'm just trying to get a better image of that runway. This one here shows it fairly well. Sometimes it takes a minute to see what's going on with these photos in a maze of steelwork. But I've worked out, you can see from here that runway is that far down on this post, and the same on that end of that runway. And that's an open span. So we've got, and we think amenities in this corner, which is interesting. The mezzanine level hasn't got there yet. They may not have got there yet. So it was always mentioned that this was going to have a mezzanine level. I think we assumed it might have gone on top, but there we have it, the mezzanine level's inside. And once again, it'll be interesting to see how this goes forward. It seems well overbuilt for the building. We can see the building, it doesn't actually carry the load of the bridge crane. It's carried on its own posts, sitting next to the main posts. Kind of suggests this might be a second-hand building that they've acquired somewhere.
Yeah, this one will definitely be interesting as they continue to build it out.
Not much else has changed around Macy's. We seem to be a bit quick on Macy's. So, Joe, we got some donations and some questions, please.
Indeed, we do. Hello. Want to thank Barry Wood for a €5 super chat before the stream started. Pounds, sorry. And Jim Cavett gifted a membership before the stream started. John Depker gifted 5 memberships prior as the stream was starting, as well as Methane Man, 5 gifted memberships. We've got a question from Gwen Ever in regards to the air separation plant that's being dismantled at Sanchez. Doesn't it make sense to move that propellant plant to the top of Massey's, add power main supply, and make it self-sufficient as it doesn't need CH4?
That's a very good bit of speculation there. There's 2 main speculations now, some kind of future further testing for boosters. The air separation unit would fit nicely here, could be expanded. That's a very good speculation. We'll treat it as...
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's definitely something we've thought about is could they move the air separation plant out here? The big question we have at this point is where has all the pieces of the plant gone? As they've dismantled it, they've disappeared, and they're not in any of their normal storage locations. So that's the one thing that makes us, at least makes me, I shouldn't say us, that makes me wonder if that's just not going to be the case because of the missing pieces of the plant. Normally they'll shuffle stuff around when they're going to move it. They just kind of move it out of the way and then move it to its new home. And they haven't done that with that air separation stuff. It's just disappeared.
That's a good point. Any more, Joe?
That's what we got for now.
Okay, well, let's move on to Sanchez then. Okay, well, we'll start down in this corner like we normally do. I'll just show you it from the other side. The main thing this week or one of the main things this week, is we notice this trench has been continued past the electrical area and continues onto some existing conduit work here. It's been expressed to me that these vaults here, the conduits continue over to go through past the rocket garden. So they've added this conduit. They've got the red concrete over the top of that stuff already. We seem to be missing a bit of conduit through here still, and some vaults being put in. We'll get back to that building in a minute. We'll go on to this area. The conduit's been put all the way through, or the trench has been put all the way through here. So the size and the amount of conduit suggests that there's going to be some significant welding equipment in this area.
Yeah, it looks like the ground found building they're making sure it has plenty of power. Power is not going to be an issue for whatever they're wanting to do inside of there.
And we've noticed the things we're calling the flame diverter pieces of steel have finally disappeared after all this time, as has quite a lot of steel that was sitting in this area. There was some stands, quite a bit of stuff here. There's some SPMTs there, and we know what they were used for. We'll come to that in a second. So quite a bit of cleanup. While we're on cleanups, the nose cone and the booster aft section have been demolished. There was a section of nose cone left over last week, and the transport stand from Kennedy has disappeared. Onto some exciting stuff. We can see a second stand starting, and that weird shaped platform has moved over to the ring yard, as was the raising platform here.
It is pretty crazy how many engine installation stands we are going to have here.
Yes, we can see, we'll see when we get to the building site, we can see where this one is heading. This one here is interesting. It could be heading to Mega Bay 1 also. There's speculation that could be a third one in Mega Bay 1.
It's interesting looking at this ring too, and that you can see a revision to ring number 2 versus the ring that went in the first time, and that is this has OLM style booster clamps on it. I noticed.
Mm-hmm.
So we got booster clamps that should be a little bit easier to operate, getting the booster clamp down, and they're also gray. They didn't paint the arms themselves white this time. They left them a gray color.
So I wonder if they've made that upgrade on the first one as well. Now they've put it in or whether they've even had time to do that upgrade, because they put booster 10 on it fairly quickly.
I definitely believe if they haven't, it will be once they have a chance, once 10's off of it, that would definitely be something they would do.
So all the safety screens were moved as well. So the day after, soon after this photo, this ring was loaded onto the SPMTs, or vice versa. The SPMTs were put underneath the ring, and this was transported to the ring yard and then subsequently put inside Mega Bay 1. So it now resides in Mega Bay 1 also.
And do we have any sights on the engine lifting plate?
The engine lifting plate is in the ring yard, and it's also has since been moved into the High Bay 1 as well.
Nice. That's a lot of progress.
Yes, so that's good to see progress going on.
The black stands. So here's my question for you, Stephanie and DJ. What do you think the black stand's going to be for?
A very interesting question. Go first if you want, Steph.
Well, yeah, it's a good question. For production, for manufacture, they seem well overbuilt. So either transport stand or at that Macy's area, they're cleaning, perhaps not static fire, but at least perhaps spin prime testing. And then for the booster to go onto the OLM to do its static fire just prior to launch, or transport stand. It's really hard to tell, but we are going to see very soon, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that will take down many road closures from the launch site. So that's going to be pretty good if they do that. And yeah, I agree with that it's pretty much over engineered, overbuilt, and over everything.
Yeah, I think I go back between, I think they're transport stands. And I could be wrong. I've said this now for weeks. We're missing the guide pins to guide them on and off the stand. That's kind of the piece that would tell us that. And on the flip side, if they're going to use them to do spin prime or static fire testing, at some point we should see them begin doing something, possibly to install QDs, although they could definitely come up with a little bit different solution for that also. But I'm ready to see these stands get finished. Like it seems like that first one, they have been working on it almost as long as they worked on the first engine installation stand. And so they don't give a sense of them being a super big priority, which at times makes me wonder if maybe they're for Mega Bay 2 and they are some sort of installation work stand, but they're so heavy. They're just so heavy built for something like that.
Yeah.
One suggestion for production is that they need it could more accurately hold a booster section, an aft section. Maybe that's important for accuracy of production, but I can't see that either.
Yeah.
So we have the slides for the second stand. There are 20 there. Now this is a ship transport stand being built, and its clamps are over here as far as I know.
Yep. Wow, I didn't even notice those. Thank you.
We can see more parts for the new white ring here. I'm pretty sure they're the fill-in pieces for here. Oh, there's a ladder just for Thomas.
Ladder for scale.
Exactly. Just for a different angle. Let's see if we can see those clamps. Some of those different angles gives us better look at some of the clamps and so on.
If you look just to the left of the white tent, you can see two of the clamps on the ground still to be installed.
Okay, well spotted. Some of the rings have been perhaps taken back to the Star Factory for production. Otherwise, most of this is the same in this area, and not much has changed through here.
Can you zoom in on that booster stand just a little bit?
Is that the old stand?
It is a older stand. I think it's the stand. Oh boy.
This was over at the near the crane yard, and then it moved over to the tracking station, and then it moved to here.
Yeah. I keep waiting for them to do some upgrading too. Yeah. It needs some upgrades if you're going to compare it to the new ones. I'm assuming at some point they'll do that, and so I guess we'll see in time.
Its location suggests it's getting scrapped. We can see this article has been slowly getting disassembled. There's a piece here missing and some pieces here, and I think some pieces up here missing.
So I've been watching this stand to see this stand get scrapped, because if they scrap this stand, for me, that's more indication that those black items are new booster stands, because I don't understand why you'd want to scrap a stand that needs a little bit of upgrading if you're, keeping that design, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. And like you say, these stands are very manual. They have to manually connect all the clamps up, and it can take some time, whereas the new stands seem to have their all that hydraulic. It's been suggested there may be quick disconnects in between these clamps on the new stand, but I haven't seen them. Like these centerpieces here, may be quick disconnects, but I'm not convinced yet. Guess that's something we'll see in time.
Well, last week it almost looked like there was a void there, but then in this week's photos, the void doesn't seem to exist. So it's, I keep watching as different people take ground shots through that area. I keep hoping they're going to get a shot. Those stands have holes in the sides, and I keep hoping they're going to get a shot through that hole so you can see what's going on. But so far, nobody's been able to get that one shot that you need.
Yeah, nice sneaky little shot through those holes. It would be great. So we've got this building going ahead here. It's going to be concrete walls. We can see formwork. So that'll be the inside formwork. We can see starter bars coming up through the concrete foundations, ready for the outside boxing to be put up and concrete poured. There's plenty of mesh on standby ready for that, and ready for the flooring as well. So this would be another electrical bunker, I guess similar to these, but a lot more sturdy looking.
Yeah, that's going to be a chunky building.
It's interesting they've left these dirt pieces in the middle. I'm sure a structural engineer will be able to say, oh, it's because of this or whatever. So we can see more walling to go here.
So here's my question. Where are the doors?
I can see one door into this area, but that's still not to the outside.
I think they forgot the door.
Well, we still haven't. Well, even here, there's no real break in the starter bars here.
That's what I was looking for, was a break into the starter bar. I'm sure there's some. We just can't notice it. We're just not noticing it. I'm sure it obviously has to be there.
I think it's on the left up there, where the shadows are. Down, a little bit down. There to the left. You can see that there are not those like welding points. Let's say welding points. It's more like almost to the right of the conduit.
Almost right of where, sorry?
Almost to the right of the conduit. Like
over here. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see there. Maybe they're going. Mm-hmm.
Looks like the conduit has been put in. Perhaps they're the risers. Can't really see the risers coming up. They could be the risers in amongst there.
That's what it looks like, yeah.
Quite a substantial building nonetheless. Some very good images coming through. There's also a whole heap of, I think it's black poly pipe. Not sure whether it's associated with that new building or whether it's going to go in the trench afterwards. There's lengths of it here, and there's also rolls of it over here. I'm pretty sure this is black poly pipe and not electrical here as well. So whether that's more water getting distributed around the site, it's not electrical conduit.
It's definitely not electrical conduit.
It may be, it's quite large. This stuff may be drainage. Not drainage, more like grey water or black water.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
More
Yeah.
conduit. I think in previous photos we saw quite a lot of conduit being staged outside of Sanchez here, and that's obviously all being put in over here now. And not much has changed in this area.
Yeah.
The big change is in here. We were talking about the separation unit earlier. We can see quite a lot more destruction. They've just taken the stands away from here. They've been breaking concrete up. All of the plumbing is gone now. More breaking up. They're adding a bit of concrete already. The tower's still here. These are still here, obviously, and connected.
Yes, it's interesting watching this all kind of not take shape, but lose shape, and there's a lot of this stuff you wonder when it's going to go and where it's going to go, and it's like those 3 tanks. Where will they end up? Will they end up at Massey's, or will they do like the rest of this unit and just disappear?
So I'm pretty sure these tanks are a little bit too big for the new
Yeah.
pedestals at Macy's. I think the pedestals there are only about this far apart at Macy's. That LOX tank may fit there, but there's only one. And there's tanks have arrived at Port Brownsville, but also I'm pretty sure they're too big for Macy's
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, they're fairly large tanks.
Lots of scrap getting put in the scrap bins. Piles of Rio and concrete everywhere. Well, that one's full of Rio. And no sign really that the tower's been pulled apart, or I thought that section, but people tell me that was always open.
I can't remember. Never paid that. I don't know if I've looked at it that closely.
I think it was open, yeah.
Yep. So ship 26 is now sitting over here. We can't see at the moment. Because it's still on its way here. As this photo was taken, the ship 26 was still staged next to Highway 4 at the launch site.
And just so y'all know, I don't think 26 is a pretty ship, but I believe 26 is a flying ship. So there's a lot of folks that don't want 26 to fly or don't think it will fly, and I do.
I'm quietly confident it'll fly, and I understand people saying it'll be scrapped. It seems to have done all the tests, and they've speculated at least it's a dead weight for booster flight for when they're doing booster flight testing, because boosters still haven't had a lot of flight testing yet. So even just to have a booster flight with a ship on top that really hasn't got much other purpose but to sit on there and be a weight would be useful data for them.
But I'm gonna tell y'all its purpose, and I think this is here's its purpose. For the last probably 8 months, Elon's talked about expendable Starship a lot, and until they are landing starships long run, it's a lot cheaper to make a starship like 26 with a payload bay than to make a starship like, say, 28 with a payload bay. And if you're going to do that, you've got to have information of, okay, how does it perform in flight? Because it doesn't have flaps, it doesn't have TPS. And then also, when you're going to bring it out of orbit, how does it burn up? What happens to the stainless steel monstrosity as it's re-entering? And they need that information if they're going to do that, and if they're going to offer it to customers. So I believe that's why 26 exists, and the reason it's existed the whole time is to get that data. It's in a big way, it's a cheaper way of putting something in space until you're able to land ships long term.
Yeah, that was my speculation about that. Like, it's a little bit different because I think like ship 26 is for if ship 25 fails to reach orbit or kind of orbit. Maybe ship 26 is the cheaper one to test new things or like, yeah, maybe new measures to reach orbit, and then test ship 28 that is way more expensive, like it have flaps and the heat shield and everything. So maybe that's the purpose of ship 26. If ship 25 fails, ship 26 will fly. But maybe, I don't know, yours, Nate, it's way better.
Yeah, that's what I think. And so that's why I think it'll fly. I could be eating crow when they start chopping it up, in weeks or months to come. But I really think that after 25 flies, that this one will get paired with booster 10, and it'll be the next flight.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So considering that they did a deorbit burn static fire, it kind of suggests along the lines what DJ was saying as well, that ship 26 could be the first to actually reach orbit properly, and then do to test deorbit burning and to make sure that the deorbit phase is going to work as predicted.
Mm-hmm. Let's see what they do.
Yeah, for the flight to be successful, all the different stages of the flight need to all happen perfectly, and deorbit is a very important phase of the flight as far as predicting where it's going to land and for accuracy of the whole flight. So it's a very important part of the flight to test just that deorbit burn itself. Okay, Joe, can we have some more questions and donations, please?
Indeed, our question bot has broken, and I'm trying to manually copy and paste everything, so I'm sorry if I missed anything. But I want to thank Jim Cabot for a $10 super chat. Thanks RGV Aerial Photography, Irma, and the team for another great stream. Steve Coates with a $1.99 super chat. Choo choo. William Foss gifted a membership. Thank you. John Depker, $10 super chat. Fuel Coffee and Sunny Snacks. I love y'all, he says. Rocket Profit, $10 super chat. Choo choo. Credence, a $10 super chat. A bit for the plane fund. And that's all we got for now. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your generosity.
That's great. Thank you, everybody. That's awesome. So they moved the HLS. Sorry, yeah, the HLS over to here. And there's some good photos. I think Starship Surfer has a photo. There's a manifold underneath here on that bottom dome. There's a bottom dome under here.
Yeah, there's a bottom dome with quite a bit of electronics. There's valving. Definitely looks like you could call them life support systems, but it's most likely more along the lines of just climate control type systems and other things. I don't know if anyone's got a great picture of labels. Starship Gazer may have at some point, but quite a bit of stuff going on that just attached to that bottom dome of that nose cone.
All right, so I think we're ready to go onto the build site. We seem to be a fraction ahead of time, but that's okay. We'll go onto the build site. Well, hang on, we'll just finish these couple of photos. Oh, that's the end of the photos. Okay, onto the build site. And we'll start at the Mega Bay.
Lots of fun stuff happening up at Mega Bay 2.
So if you look pixel by pixel, we can see the Rio mesh has been laid up here on top of the steel ready for the concrete. It seems to finish just here. You can see the Rio mesh in here as well. And that's all getting ready for the concrete to go on top. This fella over here has been lifting, what do they call them? The lift sections in.
Yeah, lifting the elevator sections in piece by piece.
Elevator sections from over here, and then some stage down here as well.
Yeah, I think the red crane has been lifting the other ones, and they've been putting it down the other corner. I caught it doing that one of the days this week when I looked at Sentinel. It was dropping a section down that back corner.
So the red crane can reach all the way over the top of the building right over to here.
Yep.
So we expect to see concrete up here soon. I think we can see the lip, the edge of the boxing there on both sides, and the concrete pipe for the concrete pump has been
Oh, wow, it sure
extended.
is there. So I bet that'll probably happen by the next flyover.
Yes, that could be correct. Not much has gone on in the flooring, although I'm seeing the odd spot like this. So I'm not sure if there's work going on down there or not.
It's just like a mat.
Yeah, I couldn't work out if it was a staging mat or it's actually like getting ready for some concrete. But I wouldn't think they'd only do small patches. That'd be a much larger pour.
Yeah.
And just from the other angle, we can see this crane. Oh, you can really see the mesh in this photo.
Yeah, they're getting it laid out in there.
Oh, we've caught this crane red-handed laying in some elevator pieces.
I keep watching for them to start the concrete floor in the Mega Bay 2 itself, because once they do that, they'll probably do like they did with Mega Bay 1. They may start utilizing it even though they're not finished with the roof.
Yeah, they're putting girders on top, Z-girts on top of the steel roof. It's all going ahead quite quickly. I wonder how long it'll take for this building to get its windows. Once again, we were lucky to get the photos through on Friday. You can see a bit of cloud here. Irma did a great job of getting photos down through the clouds. She tried to get some photos of Port Brownsville to see the tanks there, but that was overcast, so we didn't get any photos of Port Brownsville this week, unfortunately. So from this shot, we can see Booster 10 on its engine install stand, and we can see that platform I think we saw last time is in. Something to note, these panels being removed here on Mega Bay 1.
Oh, wow.
Perhaps something to do with the door system.
What if I wonder if maybe they're going to put smaller doors in there, so once they have the larger door in, they can go in and out easier, even with marginal size things, without having to open that big door.
That's a good guess.
We can see from this ring it's much too small for a ring section to go in. There's major post here, so they won't be able to go interfere with that main post.
I was just thinking like, forklifts, small lifts, things like that, and people.
Yep. So there's the platform for the new white stand. It has already gone into Mega Bay as well. As to, I'm not sure, this stand is still outside. This is the stand we saw, similar to the one there inside High Bay now. And interestingly enough, they have a curve on both sides, suggesting we may see 3 of those white stands in the back of this bay, or 2 white stands and a black stand, but I'm leaning towards it being 3 white stands and 2 turntables in this building.
Yeah, me also. That makes sense.
I've got our usual clip. Go on.
It almost makes you wonder if the 2 Mega Bays may have different purposes when it comes to building once Mega Bay 2 is done. If they'll, almost be like an assembly line type situation.
Yeah, that's a good speculation. And yeah, that's sort of the way things are going. That does lead one to think that quite a lot. So we have our normal selection of odd rings in the ring yards. This is a test article. We've seen sections cut out of it, of that booster forward. This is a booster forward. I think Jack said it was not 13, 14, or even 15. This one, it's upside down booster forward section without the dome in it yet.
When you can't even see the welds.
Which welds?
Or is it? Oh, is it a single piece?
This is 2 or 3 rings. You can see
I mean,
grid.
yeah, I mean the welds between each ring.
It's very smooth, isn't it?
Very smooth.
Yeah.
It's just still just labeled just a booster forward sleeve. They don't have a number assigned to it yet.
Okay, thank you. So perhaps there's some of these are the rings from the Sanchez too.
Here's all our hot staging equipment.
Yeah, that's the test article. Missing its protective dome. We've got I want to call it the mid-lock section that I'm pretty sure is stacked now. So leaving ship 30, 31, 32 to only need its aft section now. Which is quite fast progress, which is good to see.
And in regards to Mega Bay 1, Jake had a very good observation in that in the straight back of Mega Bay 1, you do have the opening to get raptors in and out of the raptor's nest back there. So it might make putting that third installation stand problematic. I guess they could still do it and still bring the raptors in underneath that stand, but it would definitely make it a bit awkward if they did that.
We discussed this in show and tell last night. Should they put a third stand here? We believe so if you have a booster on the forward turntable and a booster in the center here, there's still enough room to slide a booster in diagonally through there. As far as the Raptors go, the Raptors don't need to come forward. They can stay behind and come around the side of the engine install stands to come in the front of the engine install stands. So they don't need to come out here, the engines. They only need to be installed back there.
Because that way you'd have an alley behind them. They're not bumped up all the way against the wall. That makes sense.
And an alley beside them here as well.
Yeah, all the way around. Yep, that makes sense. I didn't think about that.
And with the, because there is the corner pieces there with the platforms, so there may not be room to come around the sides. But nonetheless, I can still bring the engines in to the back of the platform. So it'd be interesting to see what happens in here. They're all good speculations. We're talking about glass arriving. That's a third truck of glass here. It's interesting that it's here, whereas the other two we'll see shortly are outside the Star Factory.
Yeah, lots of glass on the ground.
So we can see the second stand's legs and safety shields are all installed, ready for the ring. And we saw the ring get moved. It was staged in between the bays over here for about 4 or 5 hours, and then through the night last night, and then moved into the bay. And the white ring we saw at Sanchez is now inside Mega Bay 1, and most likely getting lifted onto there as we speak. That platform was put into Mega Bay before the ring, so they put that platform in, lowered it into place, and then put the actual ring itself on top afterwards.
As the moment that platform is there indefinitely.
Absolutely. And we're not sure about this fella yet, whether he's been put in, but it certainly will be put in soon. We're wondering what's going to happen with this bay being so awkward because its bridge crane only goes this wide. So to put a ship in further, they've got to use an SPMT. Or it's quite awkward to get ships over into the side here because of the bridge crane only going from here to here.
Yeah, I kind of discovered all this right as they were getting done with High Bay, and when I saw how they did the bridge crane, it just it was one of those things that was just baffling of why that was a consideration. If it was just maybe what they could get at the time, or just poor planning, it was kind of like one of those kind of moments.
Well, they didn't. I mean, wasn't tall enough for the booster even when they built it. So, but booster did get a height increase between this building being built. Booster had an iteration and went a little bit higher, as far as I can recall. Was it 1 or 2 rings higher, Booster?
I can't. It was that had happened before I think I was really paying attention. I know that they ended up dropping a ring. Elon talked about it when he did his first tour with EDA. So
I feel I should remember these little details, but alas.
Lots to remember.
So some a lot of tile work happening on number 30. So looks like more tiles are on 30 than there are on 28, which is interesting.
They're definitely not doing any tiling on 28.
No, there's no change in the tiling on 28 between the last flyover and this flyover. I did notice, I think it was last week, the thrust puck that was sitting over here had been moved as well. Okay, let's move on to Star Factory. We can see the conduit work. So previously we saw a conduit just getting put over on an angle like this, and we were wondering what was going on in these particular spots. But as it turns out, that spot's just to help with the plumbing with because these are electrical, obviously, just to help put the elbows in it on. You can see they're branching out now into 3 separate lines.
It's been
And on
awesome.
top of that, go on.
I was going to say, it's just been interesting watching the groundwork of this area because it's such a larger area than what they've kind of done in the past. And, the way they kind of sectioned the way they had to build it. They had to kind of build a little bit here and a little bit here. And now they have this big area to work with. And it's been kind of fascinating to watch them lay out the electrical work so far.
Yeah, each section has been quite different to each other in foundations and, as it turns out, in actual building as well. And these also branch out yet again. So it suggests there's a workstation here and then here and here and here. Quite a few spots where conduit's going to come up through the concrete. And the conduit continues. It seems to stop there now. Whether it's going to have elbows, it's been suggested they've been fanned out to go into a vault here and perhaps to continue on later or to come over here later.
Is this more conduit work than before on the previous sections of the starter factory, or is the same?
How about I say different?
That's
because
good.
they're building it, because they're building so much in one shot. I think it's just different.
Yeah, and this is the nose cone section, right? So lots of
Well, it's more than just the nose cone section. You're going back quite a ways into the other building also. So you've got nose cone section, you've got the next step down, and you've got part of the normal roof also in this section.
yeah,
This staff
lots of work.
factory is huge.
I really want a SAC that in EDA like performs another interview with Elon when this factory is done, because it's going to be like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It appears there's been some caving. There's been a lot of rain. We don't often remember how much rain falls here. It looks like some caving in there. And even in here, it looks like it's caved in. So perhaps they need to do a bit more work here to make that a bit more secure. It looks like some of the machinery has been having fun in the mud. So yeah, it's interesting.
I find that strip of concrete they left very intriguing. You can still see
it's even on an angle too. The squares across here. So is this on an angle too up here, which is interesting. We've had more of these.
I just wonder if there's something under there they're protecting at the moment until they're ready to get to foundations and stuff.
So I can't see a vault over here for mains coming in. But that's a good thought, something underneath. It was being suggested perhaps to help with machinery, but machinery is coming in and out here and here. It's sort of not really...
Isn't there where the conduit for Midway was?
Okay, that's a good thought.
And maybe they are going to connect the conduit that you see there going straight to those.
I see what you're saying in here, perhaps.
It could be an
maybe
option.
Maybe they're gonna vault it and join them. So wherever those came from this direction, perhaps they are going to tie into that old conduit. This is where we need Dave Avery. He seems to know a lot about the electrical conduits around Star Factory, around Starbase in general. Okay, moving right along. So we've had 2 trucks with glass. This guy who joins us quite regularly got a good look at these being down there at Crowfest. I suppose we should say a big shout out to the people at Crowfest. You all seem to be having a whale of a time. It's interesting that some of the glass is here and that one other truckload's over there in between the bays. And talking about glass, it appears that they're cladding some of this wall at least rather than glass, because I'm pretty sure that's not for glass mounting, whereas these holes may have suggested that these were going to be glass panels as well as these 2 panels.
Yeah,
Now,
I was thinking if they are going to build something like the Bastrop Texas Starling building. I don't know if you saw that. It's like
yeah,
pretty much it. I don't know. It's the new Starling building, the factory that they built on Bastrop, Texas,
yep.
and it's almost complete right now, and it looks pretty much like Star Factory, but without this tall portion. And maybe they're going to build something like that, like with the glass. I mean, like on an angle.
I see what you're saying. So, Dad, yep. And I thought that perhaps because this bracing is here, that there might not be glass, but it's been suggested to me that sometimes they'll put these cross braces behind glass as well. We see a lot of temporary bracing in amongst the building when they're building it. I'm pretty sure these ones are permanent. We can see a bridge crane runway here being installed, and its mate over there.
Adding that insulation to that roof.
Yeah, it's all going ahead very quickly, this building. We can see the air conditioning units here being staged. They kind of look like megapacks, but they're actually air conditioner units.
Yeah. You can see the existing ones up there, same ones.
Same as these bigger ones.
So that'll probably be the next 3 right there in line.
Yep. And we have these smaller units, I guess, to go through here and here as well. All the doors and walls are getting fully finished off. Looking quite neat.
Kind of wonder if that first new section is being used now.
You would think so, yeah. Like you say, as soon as they put a roof on somewhere and they got some power, they'll start using it straight away. If not being used, they'll be busy fitting it out. And I'm not sure if we've seen any press crane, any of the press equipment being put in yet. You would think it'd have to go in before the building was finished.
Well, you remember we had that big white contraption to come in that they put together over in the integration building, and then they brought over, I guess, in the covered night. But it went in there, so that press pit and all may be done.
That's correct, that's right. We did see that.
It just kind of snuck in. It just kind of happened. So we really didn't have an opportunity to talk much about it because it was kind of there one day and gone the next.
Is that new fencing around this block? I don't recall seeing that fencing last flyover. If they fence him all the way in, he's going to have to sell his land. So we're saying this is the nose cone section, and this new area is so much significantly bigger for more nose cone section.
The fence was there last week.
Okay, thank you. And we can, I suppose, speculate it's going to be the same shape as this building all the way through here.
Yeah, it should just continue down, same profile all the way down.
So some of the Crowfestians have been expressing that we can see it looks quite tall here in the photos, but when they get there in person, this building is significantly taller than it appears on screen, and it's apparently very, very tall. Would be the same with most things at Starbase. When you go there in person, everything would look significantly bigger.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's about all for that particular area. We'll go ahead and start looking at the village, I think, next.
Yeah, do Airstream parking lot.
I do have
Yes.
a lot of support I wanted to thank and a couple of questions related.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, I want to thank Rocket Profit for gifting 10 memberships, as well as Jay Tan, Seabreeze, and Discord, another 10 gifted memberships. Anonymous gifted 5 memberships. John Depker, a $10 super chat. Victoria wants to say hi to everyone. She can't wait
Hi,
for
Victoria.
ILT2. Hello, Victoria.
Hey.
JK Video, $20 super chat. Waiting for launch permission. Cranky Old Man 65, $10 super chat for plane rental and a cup of coffee for Irma. Ulrich Mueller, a €10 super chat. Do you think there will be engine install stands inside of the high bays in a foreseeable time instead of installing them under open sky?
That's a good question. Would
That's a really good question.
require a newer building. And there must be some reason why they didn't put this stand in the high bay already. So perhaps we're waiting on a new building to do that. They seem to have moved a lot of production of vehicles from basically in a paddock into buildings. So that could be on the cards, Nate.
Yeah, that's I really high bay's versatile because high bay sort of has to be versatile, and I just don't foresee them putting a installation stand inside a high bay. One of the issues you have with doing that is something that you brought up earlier, Stephanie, and that's you can't get the ship over to a corner, and so I think for them to do it that way, eventually will have to be a new mega bay built or a new type of a high bay built to do it.
So some speculations there is that they could put a new building over in this area, although that area is very handy for staging stuff. They could pull down. That building's called
Stargate.
Stargate. Thank you. They could pull that building down and put one in here. They could put it here, but even if they put it where high bay is, for one, it stops production on ships. But they still have to remove part of Stargate to fit a mega bay in. And this spot was suggested as well, but it certainly looks like Star Factory is going to occupy that spot. So that's an interesting
KMS
question.
asks, oh yeah, for sure. KMS asks, is there any rails for the door on New Mega Bay? The new Mega Bay.
I don't think they have.
look like it. No, not yet.
KMS also states that saw on Lab Padre Rover 1 that they moved windows for the new Mega Bay near the old Star Factory.
Over here somewhere. Oh, Star Factory talking?
Yeah, a bunch of windows came in yesterday.
So we saw the trucks. Yeah. The 3 trucks we've seen of windows.
So
yeah. Go on.
if you can't quite see the edge, but where the white see some window. I think there's a windows right there in the bottom. Your bottom, look straight down below, in the middle of your picture. Keep going down. Keep going down. Right there. That maybe creates a windows already dropped off.
Yeah, I think one of the guys, I think Alaska might have said they noticed them unloading some here as well.
There's a bunch more crates in that area now. There's in fact, they're right now. I'm looking at the live stream. They're dragging a crate of windows somewhere else from that section. So that's definitely windows, and that's where they're at the moment.
Yeah, I'm watching that as well.
And
also watching. Go ahead.
Nope, go ahead. I was just going to say, and they look Mega Bay size. They look very similar in size to the windows that are up on Mega Bay. Now that you can see them from a side profile.
Okay.
Right. Speaking of watching that, Ronald Hines also wanted to point out that the hot staging ring is being reinstalled on Booster 9.
Awesome sauce. That's great.
Yeah, we saw
final question here.
Go on.
Yeah, final question here from Credence. How tall is Star Factory, the tall part, relative to Mid Bay? 1.5, 2/3, ballpark, because I assume no one put a tape measure on it.
A little more than a half.
I was going to say a similar height, but you reckon a little bit more than a half. Okay.
Yeah, because you could possibly get a nose cone in. See, I don't even think you get a nose cone in payload, like a full payload bay section stacked there, and you could easily do that. You know, you could basically do a whole ship except the nose cone inside of mid bay.
Yeah, they did that with like SN8 and SN. The earlier SNs were built. SN8 was in mid bay, yeah, and then was it SN8? Yeah, they went to the launch site without its nose cone even, and then had its nose cone put on later on.
KMS stating, I can't see the cutout for the second staircase at New Mega Bay.
Yeah, it's there, and it's the perfect picture. I think that picture will show them both. They're just in different directions from each other. There's one, and the other one is left and right instead of right, left. Yep, right there.
Perfect. KMS also states or asks, are you planning live streams from your cameras out there? I don't think so.
It's been talked about, but we're not confident it'll happen. So we're getting some great footage though for our weeklies.
We've discussed the two land patches ad nauseum, but Vicus Rojalia asks, any update on the two land patches left? One next to the inventory tent and the other next to the new construction of Star Factory.
It's going to court in the first week of December, I think.
So I'll say one word: litigation.
It seems crazy, but anyway, that's the way it is.
Yep.
That's right. All right, that's all we got. I'd say let's get on with the show.
Thank you, everybody, for your questions and your participation. So we can see the hovercraft landing pad being used as a hovercraft landing pad, which is a bit better than this old area. Oh,
Yes.
there's still a hovercraft
Yeah,
there.
they got the little one still just kind of sitting there.
This is all nice and flash. I guess we'll get a lot of grass and that in here.
Got a person there for scale.
Very good. And we noticed missing the HLS. They haven't moved the steps yet, but they will. The
Can I
crane
just
yard's
say that I
looking
really
Yes.
enjoy all the SpaceX labels all over the site. Every time we look, there's a new spot that they have their SpaceX label, and I really
It's like
Yeah.
brand.
It's like a graffiti artist tagging here and there and everywhere.
I mean, he does love his exes. That's
So not much change here. Not much change in this area at all, really. Except for using the hovercraft area now. We can see quite a few of these housing areas being expanded, this one as well, as the caravan area we saw just earlier, and more houses getting built.
Yeah. Airstreams, houses, and tiny houses.
Yeah, Airstreams, that's what I was trying to think of. So that's all been developed with that. We can see some framework going up on the new buildings here, and a ton more foundations getting prepared and poured. These look like a duplex with a centre firewall in between the two.
I really want to see these houses from inside. Those look really comfy.
Yes, they do. There's quite a lot of them going ahead too, all over the place.
This is like tripling the amount of houses of Boca Chica Village, right?
It is increasing the village quite dramatically, yes. They're finished putting in these houses here, these tiny homes. I think they were missing 4 or 5 last time. Not too much gear is being staged here. A lot of what needs to be at the tank farm is in the tank farm. There's still a lot of pipes here for future work, and it looks like this is where they're doing pipe work now. So that's still a lot of equipment to be installed. So most of the plumbing for the locks seems to be there, so this sort of suggests there's more. So those new tanks, I guess these will be the pipe work going to those new pedestals. We see new tank stands at the launch site, awaiting for this plumbing to be put in for the new horizontal hot dog tanks. So I guess that's to do with that.
Plumbing, a few basket strainers laying there.
Yeah. So we can pretty well tell these aren't for ships because they've already got insulation on them.
Definitely gives the idea that this building is their pipe fitting building.
We have a new car park.
Yep, out with the tracking dishes, in with the parking of cars.
This doesn't look like it's moving anytime soon, but I think Zach was mentioning last time that these could be getting moved over to the Sanchez power area in the future. So there's still a couple of driveways to build in here. We can see some dirt staged for this area.
Yeah, they're going to have to reline up that one drive. It's kind of offset on the roadside.
Just a bit there. They'll probably build a new. This might be some kind of
Yeah.
garden. Yeah, and finally get rid of all this parking on the highway, which is I guess quite dangerous because this will be a 60-mile-an-hour speed limited road here, which would be quite tricky. You would almost think it would need a speed restriction through here to make it safer even as well. So they've cleared out all the solar farm.
Yeah, they got all those arrays over there now in one corner.
Yeah, it sort of suggests they may use them somewhere else.
Maybe on top of the Star Factory. What do you think?
It's been suggested there's going to be a giant X on the top of Star Factory with solar panels, similar to what they did at Giga Texas, but they spelled Tesla, did they?
Tesla? Yeah. I hope it's not the X that is on top of the Hawthorne factory, because it is not the SpaceX X.
They might. Yeah, it's probably this X instead.
Yeah, I really hope that will be crazy for Indy too. The an X spelled on top of the Star Factory, a big X with the solar farm.
I will enjoy.
Nice.
It appears to be a little bit of work going on in this building. That seems to be shinier white here, and there's a ladder.
Oh.
But they still haven't cut the trees out, so maybe not.
Maybe they're going to leave them. That's the hotel, yeah.
No, I was wondering if that was actually a ladder. It looked like a part of a tree branch or something.
Oh, yeah. SpaceX doing their crazy things again.
So I just had to get rid of the cat. Another view of the village getting developed. It's going to look quite nice once that's all filled in with houses again. I mean, filled in with houses for the first time. And it's still got the odd plots that aren't owned yet by SpaceX. And it still amazes me just how much they've built up the land here to get it above the flood zone for their permits.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how much dirt. That'd be an interesting thing to track. Is as they build those lots up, they do it to compress the dirt underneath also. So they'll take some of that off the top probably. It'd be interesting to see how much they remove before they build. Some of these other lots were built up like that for a while too, and then they came and built up. If you go back and look at actual early pictures of the launch site area, they had a huge mound of dirt out there, and using that weight of that mound to compress the soil underneath before they actually ever did any work.
Yeah, especially on soil like this that's not very solid because of the sandy sort of flooded area that it is. Yeah. Okay, that's it for the build site. So, Joe, any last questions or donations from the build site before we go to the launch site?
I just want to thank Blushy Boy for gifting a membership, and we are go for launch site.
So many new members. We're getting a lot of membership gifting lately.
Hopefully they stay and convert.
Also wanted to thank Indian Star for turning the knobs and pushing the levers and running a great production stream today.
Thanks, friend. You're doing a great.
Hashtag Indie Rocks.
Aw, thanks. Especially because the bot is down. Poor Joe's doing all the questions and donations and everything all by hand at this point. Poor guy. Thank you for doing what you
got you covered.
Totally agreed. Hashtag Joe Rocks.
And
Yep.
Yep, it's definitely a team effort, that's for sure. There's no way I'd be able to do the images like this and do questions and produce and do what Nate and DJ do as well to help me commentate. So it's an awesome team. Good on yous all.
Got to grow
We love
more
you guys.
arms and everything else.
then she
No, I think it's good to have a team. Yeah, I think it's good to have a team. I think it works really well.
Yes, it does.
Okay, the build site. The launch site. I have to remember my words as well. So ship 26 is staged. It had been moved by now, obviously, back to the rocket garden. Have a look from the other side. We'll go over to the suborbital launch site first. Some nice distant angles here. A good overview of the whole site. Okay, suborbital tank farm. A big thing to notice is walls. We've got today's theme is walls. So we have some more walls being added to this end of the tank farm. This end of the launch site. We can see they've dyno bolted some timber, I guess, there to hold those formwork up, and we can see the Rio bar already being installed here along that wall. And speculation is it for stopping prying eyes, or is it to stop the chance of any debris, mitigate debris egress out into the wetlands?
What is it? Yes.
Yeah, and they've still got the arrows on the wrong side of the road.
whatever.
We can see the roadworks going ahead through here. So this they're not fences, they're walls. We'll have an opening through here to allow trucks and cars into the parking lot. They've installed some lighting. We saw those pedestals last time. And we remember the trench work in here a number of weeks ago. Early last month, there was a trench in here. And I've lined up photos, and it seems to line up with these lines. So it suggests there may be some more lighting going in these spots. Power distribution. In last photos, we noticed the horizontal boring machine over here. And they've put the pipes underground, ready to tap into these bolts.
Almost with all that power coming out, it looks like they must be tying the suborbital tank farm into main power too, and it must have still been running off generators, would be my guess. I'm not Zach or Dave. They would know better, but that's a lot of conduit coming out just for a car park.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as I know, there's no electrical connection between a suborbital tank farm and the orbital side.
That's what I
So
was
yeah,
thinking.
this would come in straight into
As-
here, and maybe even come up the side of these buildings somewhere. Somewhere here, there's a lot of pipes coming up.
Yeah, you can see the caps of some, I want to say culverts, but some of the
Oh, there's bolts here. Yep.
vaults. Thank you. Could not find the word.
So that's a major upgrade, and you're right. That's way too much power for just the car park. So that's highly suggest that's all going into these bolts. Say again, Indy.
I was going to say those would be some really bright lights with all that power.
They're going to explode.
They're going to be like rocket.
So the Crowfestians have noticed work going on here yesterday. Obviously, we're missing a ship. So not a lot more has changed. It's being used as a staging area rather than a car park at the moment. So yeah, it'd be nice to see cars all parked in here and off the highway once again.
And did you mention the new wall that they're building there? To the right? Like to...
Over here. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, as you can see the mesh standing up here, and you can see its shadow. There's the mesh and there's its shadow. Yeah, there's a new wall going all the way through up to here so far. Thank you.
Yeah, this is very sad news.
Yeah, it's hard to see in this angle, but it is sad news. But as you get further from the gate, when you get further from D1, the mesh drops down pretty significantly. It doesn't look like it's going to be super tall the whole way. It's just going to be tall.
We are going to need ladders to take photos.
We already used them to take photos.
Yeah, true. I can imagine.
I almost thought they painted that stuff, those stands.
It seems to have weathered the latest static fire quite well, although it was only a single engine.
Yeah.
Just for a different angle. The first angle was better to see this wall.
I really wonder when they're going to start using Suborbital Padé again.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. And if so, what for? Because, I mean, they've done static fires there, but only small ones. It's significantly closer to the suborbital tank farm, I think.
True.
I think the last static fire we saw there might have even been that booster 3, would it have been?
I believe it was the last static fire we saw.
Wow. That's crazy.
So this photo is coming to us care of Dave Avery. He's one of the Crowfestians, one of the Noodles down there at Noodlefest. And yeah, we can see, like Nate said, it significantly drops off as it gets further away from this gate.
It's almost container height again. It's almost where it was when the containers are in place. So that's encouraging.
And we can still see over the top at some of the ships. So yeah, that's a fairly major change to the launch site. And we thank Dave and the rest of the Noodle who have been giving us feedback on what it's like to be down there and what's going on. And just for a bit of fun, one of our new members in Patreon, I can never pronounce his nickname, has photoshopped one of the black rings on Pad A just to poke our curiosity. Okay, onto the middle section. We can see these significant stands being assembled.
Stands, lots of them.
They were flat, and now they're sort of 3-dimension. So they're like 4 legs.
I'm going to say those are for the new tanks that are coming up here.
Yeah, almost certainly.
This indicates they're going right here. So
wow.
That.
Did not notice that.
Oh, and do we know which commodities are they going to store on the new tanks? Like nitrogen, logs, methane?
I would say nitrogen or LOX most likely at this point, because there's no type of container wall or any of the things that are needed for methane.
Yeah, and if they are going to...
Not to say they couldn't build that. I mean, that could definitely be added.
Yeah, of course. But look at if they are going to install them right there to the middle of the screen, that makes me think they want the pipes separated. So maybe that's LOX or nitrogen.
Yeah, the position of the stand sort of suggests I don't want, if it's locks especially, wouldn't want locks going in through here. And
Mhm.
on this side of that wall, there's room here outside of that barrier, but there's not a lot of room there. Consider the size of these stands. There's no room in here for those stands. So this would be
Yeah.
the only place they could actually put them.
Mm-hmm.
The guys on the ground have said this is the jackhammer attachment on this backhoe. And there's another cutout here.
Yeah.
I think the next photo shows that one's cut out, ready.
Basically bringing it all back past all the methane. Pipework and whatnot to tie it back into the farm.
Yes, yeah. And we can see this one has been cut out with a concrete cutter. And there's another one here being cut out. This one's being broken out as we speak. Oh, sorry, cat again. Okay, so I'll keep moving along. Yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, these stands, we'll have a photo coming up in a minute of these stands from the front gate from this guy, Todd, and his daughter are there visiting. Yeah, so no more new work on this wall here at all. The ship's getting ready to move. Now, I'll come back to this photo. Okay, this is from this guy as well, just a photo of that jackhammer at work. And these stands from the ground, they're quite beefy, quite heavy-duty steel.
Oh, yeah.
And it must have been pretty cool for the guys there and the girls there to watch the SPMTs and the ship moving right next to them like that.
I mean, that must have been amazing. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have the ground shots yet, but it looks like they've still got more of this plumbing to hook up on the high pressure side. It's been suggested that the new deluge test was significantly taller, like there was more pressure. So adding more tanks. Now, adding more tanks won't necessarily add more pressure. It's like putting batteries in parallel, you don't get any more voltage. But what you do get is when they open the valves up, there'll be a pressure drop because of the air coming out, because of the gases coming out of the tanks. So having more tanks in parallel will reduce that pressure drop and allow them to maintain more pressure, the higher pressure. But also does add more quantity to the gas because as you add a tank, obviously you need the extra gases to push the water out of the tanks. So it suggests that the extra gas tanks are more for the volume rather than pressure. And we don't know that we've seen a full duration water deluge test yet, as you would see at a launch. And they may not have opened up all the valves on previous tests, and now they're getting more and more confident with the system. They're putting more and more pressure through it. So it's interesting thoughts on what's going on with the pressure.
Yeah. Very good news on that. We're really close to the launch.
Hey, we're all hoping so. I'm not fully up to date on the paperwork, but there's been suggestions no earlier than the 6th of November. Nate, do you know any more about that?
That's just where those new Mariner warnings were dropped, were for the 6th. And there's been some other things. I believe one of NASA's WB planes has got a block out for those dates, but it doesn't say specifically what it's for. So there's definitely some speculation, and I am, like everyone else, I am anxiously awaiting for the Fish and Wildlife to turn everything loose. And of course, they were down this week checking things out also, and so hopefully soon.
Yeah, I have good information about that because I shared the WE57 thing, and yeah, I have good information about the U.S. Fish and Wildlife because many people think they are going to be late or something, but we do need to remember that they took the 30 days for the IFT one. They took the 30 days to analyze everything that the FAA sent to them, and then 30 days again for the official. How is it called? The oh my god, how is it called?
Which are you trying to?
Their opinion. I think.
Oh, their
the
response.
official
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah, you're right. Yep.
Yeah.
The Fish and Wildlife.
Yeah, so that's for the first launch, and that was for everything around Starbase, So if we take that they only are concerned about the deluge system, that is only water, and they took 2 weeks from October 5th to October 19th. They took 2 weeks to analyze what the FAA sent, and now they have 135 days. But they said that they don't want to, or they are not expecting to take all of that time, And I'm pretty confident that they might be done maybe by November 2nd. Then the launch license could be going out on the 3rd, and maybe a launch on 6th if everything works perfectly, So
Yeah, it's all got to fall into place this week.
Or any week up until 135 days is approximately August 2024.
Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking for the 6th. I was looking with the 6th being the target.
No, I'm with you. But it could be any day. That's the whole thing, right? As long as it's as early as the 6th, potentially. It could be earlier, but.
Okay, thanks for all that. That's interesting. Yeah, so hopefully it's in November. So onto the methane tank. Onto the methane side of the tank farm. There's no change. Nothing to report. They haven't plumbed the pumps in or anything. And the same for the lock side. Nothing's really changed except for a couple of pipes have been staged here and here. We saw these pipes. These are for the locks. They're for the locks. Hippos over here, one for the input and one for the output of the locks. These may be something to do with the nitrogen down here. I'm not sure because
these
ones
need to connect
into here.
Exactly. Yeah.
The whole launch site, well, there's not a lot of change at all because everything's ready to go as far as SpaceX is concerned.
One thing that changed. Zoom in on one of the launch table legs. You see the wires hanging off of those legs. You can see it on that. Look at the top of that leg there. Go to the right, you'll see the little bar hanging off of that leg. Go down. That's hard for me to tell you where it's at. Right there. So multiple legs have these bars hanging off of them, and they have a wire that goes from that bar all the way to the base. So it makes it almost feel like they're going to, or setting it up where they can put like a tarp or something in between the legs if needed.
Okay, that's interesting.
They're on multiple
What
legs.
purpose
now.
would that? What would that do? What would the tarp do?
Keep the wind out? I have no idea.
I feel like the tarp would be more hazardous than it would helpful because their wind there is like from gale force winds because of hurricanes and things like that. So wouldn't a tarp just create more issue?
If you
Like
put
what?
it up in the wrong kind of weather, it could. But I have no idea. It's just that's kind of what it looks like is for something to slide up and down on. So
And what would it be protecting? The metal plate?
that, or if they're doing work under the booster on the dance floor, things like that. I suppose
Oh.
the actual purpose of it, we'll see at some point in the future. But they definitely added those to most of the legs by now. They were adding them the other day.
Interesting. Let's have a look on this one. There, yep. There, yep. I see.
If you look on the left one over there, you can see the rod hanging off the top of it. I don't know if it has a line yet, but you can see the rod. Now go to right there.
Very good.
Okay, I'm baffled now. I don't even understand why they would hang anything on the legs like that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they use it for.
Welcome to
SpaceX.
Starbase, Cindy.
I've been here all day. I just moved from one thing to the next to be perplexed throughout the whole ride, but I enjoy.
Yeah, so this piece of pipe is new. It's not joined here. I'm not sure if that's its final resting spot. We've still got a few bits of pipe to come in. I think I've said before, we've got a piece of pipe to link this manifold up with this manifold, and the same with the manifold underneath.
Do you think those pipes are spare? The ones that are not connected?
No, they'll be used somewhere. These
But I
ones
mean, like,
obviously
could they go
up
to
here.
Massey's instead of staying here, where they have those new?
I doubt that very much. These would be here to be installed here. So some of that stuff we saw at that building at the build site would be for Macy's. We can see there's the basket strainers and all that here for this system here, so that maybe they'll mirror that over at Macy's. I think it'd be closer to it. Okay.
The launch site
Now,
is just not that much different right now, week to week.
that's right. Yeah, there's not a lot to see here, except for that all the walls going up. So, Joe, we'll go again for questions and donations, please.
Well, I want to thank Jim Cavett for gifting another membership, as well as 55 Chevy Guys Steve for gifting 5. John Depker gifting another 5 memberships. John Depker also with a $5 super chat, 5 for 500 likes. Y'all, let's smash that like button like it owes you money. I like that. That sounds good. Let's see what we got here. Jim Cabot, $2, like and share. Thanks, Dave Avery, for that ground image. Jim Cabot also says, what a great job, Stephanie, this week. Thank you. Sorry, not a question. Agreed,
really
I
Jim.
need to agree with that, by the way.
Yep.
Steph, you're killing.
Yeah.
I appreciate your feedback. I was a bit nervous earlier, but a little bit of help from Jake in the background. I've managed to calm myself down. And yeah, thank you. I appreciate the feedback.
Rocking and rolling. Ulrich Mueller, is it just me that thinks that they left the perfect square space for a 4th big water tank at the Deluge farm?
Oh, space in here. Okay, that's interesting.
Oh, that
well,
space was covered. Yeah.
Go on, DJ.
No, sorry. And just saying that space, it's covered because down there is the, let's say, the prime up. pipes for the entire water portion to the OLM, the pipes. Like those small pipes are the feeding ones to feed and prime up and flood the how is it called, the big pipes going to the OLM. So yeah.
Yeah, there's this vault here as well that, yes, I don't think there is actually room there.
Mm-hmm.
Just to answer that question, thank you, Joe.
Indeed. And Randall Williams asks, when and why did they remove the gripper arms on the ship quick disconnect? That was quite a while ago, and I don't know. Your opinions?
They go ahead, Stephanie.
I was going to say, you go ahead, but they seem to not quite work as predicted. They seem to have a bit of trouble with them, and maybe they just weren't necessary, because when it's fully stacked, the chopstick arms up here can stabilise the airframe during high wind events until launch. What do you think, Nate?
That you summed up actually everything I was going to say. They were, I'll never forget when they stacked 20 on top of booster 4 the first time, and they used those gripper arms and they grabbed the booster and it moved. You know, we talk about it now, how it's not perfectly, you know, upright because of expansion and things contracting and settling, etc. But man, when they grabbed that first booster with those little gripper arms, it moved significantly. And
The claw.
Yeah, the claw. There we go. And so I think you're exactly right. I think they realized that they could just use the chopsticks to hold the ship, and the claw was unneeded.
Yeah. And also, this is part of the philosophy. The best part is no part.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yep. And I guess the chopstick arms allow, if there is some movement or some, like you said, distortion, the fact that the chopsticks can move left and right and in and out a little bit gives them a lot more flexibility to secure the ship if the ship is actually sort of moved a little bit left or right or forward or back. They've been cleaning up out here. I guess there's some machinery tracks. They laid some pads out here for machinery to pick up some of the bigger bits. We can still see some bits and pieces out here.
Yeah, I think they're.
Yeah.
So I think that the big stuff, they're not allowed to disturb it unless Fish and Wildlife is with them, is what I read in a document earlier this week. It was some discussion about what they could clean up and what they couldn't. So that's kind of how that works. They can't take the machinery out there to get it without Fish and Wildlife with them.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently some wildlife have found refuge and homes under those bits of concrete too. Okay, so Joe, any last comments? We're going to wrap up the stream now. So any last comments or donations or anything? And if you like to start, we'll start the sign up after that, and we'll let Joe do the final sign up as well.
I've got a clean slate here. I just want to thank everybody in chat for a awesome chat today. And, well, yeah, we're pretty well done here.
So I apologise. I haven't been watching chat. I find it hard to watch chat and run the stream. So I'm going to sign up and thank you all for joining us today. And thank you very much, Nate and DJ and Indy and Joe, for joining me. Makes my job a hell of a lot easier. And I'll sign off and talk to you all next week. Goodbye for now from Australia.
I'll go next. It's been, as always, a fun time going over the pictures. Thank everybody for all the great questions and comments. It's always such a fun afternoon to look at these photos together. And with that, I'll sign off, and I will hand it over to DJ.
Yeah, it was amazing, guys. Thank you so much for inviting me again. And awesome afternoon watching everything. Getting closer to launch, I hope. And I'll see you, I hope, next week with everyone. I'll pass it to Joe, I think.
Yeah. Indy, any final comments from you?
Just thanks everybody in chat. Thanks everybody for watching and listening. Hope to see you next week. And Joe, it's all you.
All right. Thanks, DJ, Nate, Stephanie, Indy. Thank you all. And so with that, we'll see you next week. Main engine cutoff, stage separation confirmed. Love you. Bye.